In this nugget, I'd like to demonstrate 3 tools as examples of what could be used to gather information directly from the target's website. Let's begin. You know all that hard work that we did in putting together a lab environment? Well, we're going to start using that right now. This represents the virtual lab environment that I walked you through step by step in setting up in our earlier nuggets. So I've got a host at .200 that's on the 192.168.1 network. And this host .200 is running VMware Workstation, and all these devices here in green are virtual machines that we have set up in our lab. So I've got Windows 8 at .208, Windows 10 at .210, Server 2012 at .212, and Server 2016 at 216, and the Kali Linux box at .109. So as part of our footprinting, we can actually make direct contact with the customer's website to gather information. For example, Firebug is a fascinating little plugin. It was initially designed for Firefox, but there's also a plugin for Chrome. So right from our computer, for example, let's take this Windows 10 machine. So if this Windows 10 machine is going out to the target, and we have the Firebug plugin, it makes it much easier to look at some of the details of that site, including the source HTML and other details. Another tool that we can use is the Web Data Extractor, which is just an example of one of many, many tools that we could use to extract and pull information from a website. There's also mirroring tools like HTTrack, which can take a full copy of the website and pull it down to a local hard drive, and that way you can analyze it and look through it offline without having to make direct future contact to that website to see the contents and their details of the web server. So we're going to start here on this machine, on this Windows 10 computer. You could also do very similar activities from Windows 7 or Windows 8. But just to give you a context of exactly where we're going to be doing these tools from, we're going to start off right here at Windows 10. So in VMware Workstation, I'm going to go ahead and power on the Windows 10 machine by just selecting it, powering it on. And while we're at it, I'm also going to start up the Windows 2012 server, and I'm also going to start up my Kali Linux box. I also have current snapshots of all 3 of them if, for whatever reason, we need to roll it back to its previous state. So let's go ahead and go on the Windows 10 machine, and I'll bring that full screen. So we're logged in as Bob. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Edge, and I'm going to use Edge to go ahead and get Chrome, because that's what I like to use. So I'm going to type in Chrome, press enter, click on the link for Chrome, and the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to change my DNS settings on this computer, because the primary DNS server is my local Windows 2012, which isn't yet set up for DNS, so it's taking additional time. So I'm just going to change my adapter settings on the Windows 10 computer. So we're going to click on the Change Adapter Settings, right click on the Ethernet adapter, go to Properties, and we'll go down to IPv4, double click on it, and I'm going to remove the alternate DNS server of 8888. I'm going to make that the primary DNS server. And I'm demonstrating that because I want to show you every step I'm doing along the way, which will help you replicate this environment if you'd like to. So we'll click on OK here, and OK again. I'll close Control Panel, and let's go ahead and download Chrome. And I'm just going to accept the settings for Chrome and install it. So Chrome is installed and running. I'm going to right click on the icon and just pin that to my taskbar. Let me close that. I'll close Edge. And let me just launch Chrome just to make sure it's going to come up and work correctly. I'm also going to say, yes, please set Chrome as my default browser. So under default apps, I'll click on Microsoft Edge, and I will pick on Chrome, and that looks great. So I'll close that. And what I want to do is get the plugin called Firebug. So I'll do a search for Firebug for Chrome, press enter, and getfirebug.com is the site. So I'll click on Firebug Lite for Google Chrome. I'll click on the link for installing Firebug Lite, and then click Add to Chrome, and click Add Extension. And it's done. So we have a little icon up here for Firebug. Now if I click on that, it says, sorry buddy, we're not allowing that to run on our site. Try it on somebody else's site. So let's go out to www.hackthisSite.org, press enter. And then here at hackthisSite.org, we'll click on the little icon for Firebug, and it brings us a separate menu down here. So for example, if we want to take a look at the details for the HTML, we can go ahead and expand and look at the details. So we can use that as one of our tools to gather more and make it easier to see more details and information about the customer's website or about the target's website. We'll get into more of what we might do with some of this content as the nuggets progress. Another great tool that we can use to extract data from a website is called the Web Data Extractor. And we're also going to run that one right here on this same Windows 10 virtual machine. So here in Windows 10, we'll open up Chrome, and we'll just do a quick Google search for Web Data Extractor. So with Web Data Extractor in the Google search, we've got some ads. Let me go ahead and I'm going to scroll down until I see the right site, which is right here, www.webextractor.com. So we're going to go ahead and grab that one. Everybody above that is simply advertisement. So we'll grab the actual site itself. We'll scroll down a little bit to download, and we're going to download the Web Data Extractor version 8.3 as opposed to the professional version 3.5. So we'll go ahead and download it. It's also handy in a lab environment to have a virtual machine so that if we really mess something up terribly, we can reset it back if we kept a snapshot to a previous state. So that's downloaded. We'll go ahead and we'll run it. Click on Run. Click on Next. We'll accept the terms of the license agreement. Click on Next. And click on Next to install it. And then click on the Install button. So I'll click on Yes to continue. And we'll click on Finish, and it is installed. So there's a little icon on my desktop for a Web Data Extractor. We'll go ahead and double click on that to launch it. And I'm going to click on New for a new project, and I'm going to put in www.certifiedhacker.com because I know there's some great stuff there that we can pull down and look at. And I'm going to go ahead and tell it that we want to extract meta tags, site body, extract URL, extract emails, phones, and faxes, and stay within the full URL. We also have additional options up here regarding filters, regarding URL and text and data. And for now, I'm going to leave those other settings as their default. Now that those settings are in place, we're going to go ahead and run it. And to do that, we're going to click on the Start icon. And again, this just is an example of one of many tools that we could use to help automate the collection of information and data from a given site. So I'm going to let this run, and when it's done, we'll go ahead and resume the video together. Okay, so it says it's done. We'll click on OK. And then, if we want to use these tabs up here, we can see the details that it collected. For example, meta tags, emails, phones, faxes, URLs. And that's all information that we could use as part of our footprinting and gathering information regarding the customer's website. This third tool is an example of an application that will mirror a website or attempt to mirror a website. So if we have a site out here on the internet and we want to go ahead and pull that down to a local computer, whether it's, for example, on a Kali box, or we can pull it down to a Windows 10 box. The benefit of having the content here locally is that we can take more time and analyze the details of that website if it's sitting on our local hard drive. So to start our demonstration of HTTrack, let's go to the Kali box right here in our lab environment. So I'm going to go over to that Kali box and go ahead and bring it up full screen, and then we'll go ahead and log in. So we'll log in as root with the default password, which I haven't changed yet, of TOOR, which is root backwards, and we're in. Now from here, if we bring up a shell and we just type in HTTRACK and press enter, HTTrack is already integrated as part of the tool set with Kali Linux. So we can then enter a project name. Now for this demonstration, let's do this. This will be fun. Let's go ahead, and I've got IIS running on the Windows 2012 server. So let's go ahead and use HTTrack to go ahead and pull a copy of the web server that's running here on the 2012 server. So when we specify where to go, we'll specify 192.168.1.212 as the target. And also, before I do that, let's go ahead and verify that that web server is really running. So I'm going to launch a browser right here in Kali. And we'll go to 192.168.1.212. And sure enough, okay, so we know that the web service is running on our Windows 2012 server. That's a good start. So let's go back to our shell and continue with HTTrack. It's asking for a project name. We'll call it IIS. Press enter. It's asking us what folder do you want to put this in. By default, it's going to put it in a websites folder under the root folder. I'm currently logged on as root. And if I wasn't logged on as root and I tried HTTrack or some other command that says, oops, you don't have privileges, we might have to type in sudo space and then the command, and then it would ask us to authenticate. And then once we do so, we could go ahead and run the command. So I'm going to press enter to accept that location. And now it wants the URL. So we're going to put in 192.168.1.212. Press enter. Now we have options 1 through 5, including 0 for quit. And I'm going to press 2, which is to mirror the website with a wizard. So we're not using a proxy. I'm not going to define wildcards. I'm not going to put in additional options. And I'll type in yes to go ahead and launch the mirror, to create the mirror. And it's done. So now if we do an ls to list the contents of this folder, we have websites. So let's do a cd to websites. And now if we do an ls, we've got a folder called IIS. And if we change to that folder with the cd IIS and press enter and do an ls, there's the initial contents, including the index.html for the mirrored website that is now sitting on the local hard drive of this Kali Linux box. Now, in the event HTTrack was not installed, you could use apt-get space install HTTRACK and press enter, and that could very easily install it for you. There's also a web version of HTTrack that we can do on Linux, and to get that, we can type in apt-get web HTTRACK and press enter, And I was so excited I forgot to put the word install. We'll do that now. So app-get install web HTTRACK and press enter. I'm going to say yes, I want to continue. And that will install the web version of it right here on this Kali Linux box. So now to launch it, we just type in web HTTRACK, press enter. That'll spawn a new window, and then we can run it from here. So we can specify our language. We can enter a new project name like IIS again. We can specify the folder, click on next. We could add the URL. You can click on this link to add a URL, or you can just type in the URL here. Either way works great. And we also have the ability to set options as well by clicking the set options. So we can set additional options here if we need to or want to. We have the same options in the Windows flavor, which we'll show you here in a moment. Then we're going to simply click on next, and we'll click on start. And once again, it's going to build a copy of that website locally on the hard drive of this computer. So it's showing us where the content is, and if we want to click right here, we can go ahead and simply launch it. So if we click here, we're going to be browsing the mirrored website that's sitting on this hard drive. And on this Kali box, I also want to edit my settings for networking because it's also pointing DNS-wise to the Windows 2012 server that's not set up for DNS yet. So I'm going to go to wired settings, click on configure, and go to IPv4, and I'm going to remove the DNS server that says .111 and click on apply. So I'm going to take the Kali box out of full screen mode. Let's go to our Windows 10 machine, and let me go ahead and close that last app, the Web Data Extractor. And let's do a Google search for HTTrack. And there is httrack.com. That is actually where we want to go. That's great. And we'll go ahead and click on the download section, and we'll download the 64-bit version of it. With that downloaded, we'll go ahead and run it. And we'll click on run, click on yes, click on next, accept everything, click on next, 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 install. Made it. And we'll click on finish. It'll automatically launch it for us. We'll click on OK for the language. It's automatically gone to file, and it started a new project for us based on the install finishing. And we'll click on next. And let's call this web copy example. And we'll click on next. We'll put in the URL. Let's use www.hackthisSite.org. And then here we have set options. So if we want to set up limits, for example, how many bytes per second we want to do, or the maximum number of connections, or the maximum number of links, we can put those in here as well. I'm going to leave for now all those at their default. Click on next, click on finish, and then it's going to run through and actually copy everything it can down locally to this computer. In this case, it's the Windows 10, but it's the same logical concept. Whether we're doing it on a Linux box or we're launching the tool from a Windows computer, we're downloading the website locally so we have more time to look at and analyze the website and its details without having to go out directly to that website every single time. In this nugget, we demonstrated some tools against the target website, including Firebug, Web Data Extractor, and HTTrack, as examples of tools that we could use to get information from the customer's website that we can use as part of the footprinting process. And as homework, I would encourage you to practice with tools. Either practice with these or tools like these to become more familiar with how to gather information directly from the customer's website. So I'm glad you joined me for this nugget. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.